Perfect. Thank you so much for coming, Shay. I'm so grateful to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about where in the world that you are from and what your background is.
For sure. So I live in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan right now. I was born and raised here. When I turned 18 years old, I moved to Vancouver for a year of university. Um, I ended up on academic probation, switched universities to Mount Royal in Calgary, and I lived there for 8 years. I got a degree in criminal justice with a minor in sociology. And somehow at 27, I found myself back at my parents' house. My health had taken a bit of a decline, which brings me to the condition I live with. So I live with spinal muscular atrophy type 2. It's a neurological degenerative genetic disease. So my parents were both unknown carriers of it. And I had a 1 in 4 chance of being born with SMA, with them both being carriers. When I was diagnosed at 18 months old, there was no treatment, no cure. My parents were told to take me home and love me, and that my life expectancy would be around 12 years old. And so I continued to live a life full of medical challenges. I had a 14-hour spinal fusion. I've had three other surgeries since then. And somehow at 21 years old, in the midst of university and just trying to be my own person and build a life, I was working with a counselor who told me that I should probably plan my funeral as a form of having some sense of control in the chaos that had become my health and my life. And so at 21 years old, I planned my funeral with my best friend. And at 22 years old, a treatment became approved for my disease. And that spiraled into my community creating a GoFundMe, which raised over $300,000 because each dose of treatment was 150,000. I needed 4 doses of treatment to qualify for a clinical trial. With the community's help, I was able to purchase those 4 doses, and I've been involved in clinical trials for research for SMA ever since. So it has now been 6 years of continuous treatment for a disease that I thought would never be treatable. And I've gone from planning my funeral to planning a future that I did not expect to have.
Wow. That's beautiful, Shaylin. That is, I want to clap. That is extraordinary and so moving to listen to. Your experiences. Like, I know that you do this work. I've followed you for some time and I know that you inspire people, but I didn't quite know the story of, how you got there and what the experiences were. And so
Yeah,
that's some big stuff to have to go through at such a young age. Of course, this is all of your life. Everything, every memory that you have is all, in this sometimes fight, sometimes flight, sometimes it's good, it's a little bit of everything. How have
exactly.
you how have you navigated this experience?
I definitely have learned over time, did not navigate it in healthy ways in the beginning. I had a lot of anger and jealousy of my friends, and it turned into a lot of fights that I didn't even know why I was so upset, but it stemmed to not processing what my disease was doing to me and what it was going to make my life look like. And so I started counseling at 12 years old and have
Yeah.
never stopped. It is something that helps me chain back to myself in the stormy seasons, and has really helped me process my trauma. I have a lot of medical trauma, um, and a
Of
lot of
course.
fear of the future because I'd worked so hard to accept that that wasn't something I had. And so suddenly trying to switch my perspective and mindset to being like, what do I want in my future? Um, was such a 360 from what I had spent the last 21 years doing. And so, yeah, it truly has been counseling and perspective that has been what I've had to keep coming back to, as well as my community and the people around me who really keep me anchored to what my purpose is, that I do want to be alive, that I do have so much I want in my future, and choosing to focus on that instead of the constant uncertainty that will be my medical future. Um, I have been on treatment longer than most people with my disease, and have been on two different treatments. I'm now on the treatment I started with, but at a dose that had only been tested on monkeys prior to me. And so there is no guidelines of what side effects may be, what my life expectancy is with these treatments. I'm choosing to just focus day by day on the good, the positives, the experiences I've had. The clinical trial I'm in is based in New York. And so I've been to New York over 20 times in the last 6 years.
Wow.
And yeah, I choose to focus on the opportunities to be in New York and not that 3/4 of it is spent in a New York hospital. But there's still those glimmers around the hard times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What have you begun to plan for yourself for this future?
Um, I think for the beginning, it started with wanting to be there for other parts of my friends' futures. So at first, I was like, I'm going to get to see my best
Love
friend
that.
get married and have kids. And all those things were so exciting, but I was still scared to actually think about what I wanted. And now I'm in the dating world and choosing that maybe I can have a relationship and thinking about the possibility of kids, which was something I like shut down a long time ago. And yeah, it's just very exciting and new. And I'm trying not to feel rushed because I'm starting to plan my future so much later than most. And yeah, it's been really great to slowly discover what I want in life and not just living in that place of trying to stay alive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, I don't know your experience and your pain, but I can identify with some of it,
Definitely.
of that feeling of like, what accepting that you may not have a future and, be having it pushed off and you're making plans so much later in life and, and all these different things. And so I can really identify with those things. And
Definitely.
and I just want to honor you and well and me, for the fact that we are standing here, we are having this conversation, we are proud of, everything that we've been through and we're telling people about it and changing the world. I think it really speaks to the power of the human spirit, right?
Completely. And the power of being able to harness what's come and make something of it. You you are just the same in the way that you have chosen to take the curveballs and use them for good and use them to support community and to just have these authentic, vulnerable conversations that somebody will hear at the right time and will feel less alone.
That's right. Exactly. That's the my favorite part about this podcast is that, I have brave people from all walks of life and all experiences that come, and when you can meet somebody or not meet, but it feels like it when you're hearing such an intimate conversation, another person who's gone through something similar or, will spark that moment of like, oh, I've been there. I think that it creates an ability for someone to say, um, I'm not alone, but also if they can, I can kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like I too get inspiration and motivation from hearing other people who have come through the other side of dark and heavy times. And it helps me to keep going forward and being a light also. So, yeah, I definitely think that a lot of us might be like, we're not inspiring, like we just lived the cards that were dealt. Um,
Right.
but it definitely is. I too get that motivation and inspiration from knowing that I'm not alone in the heavy and the scary, and that there is light at the end.
Right. 100%. Yes, there certainly is. So, what are some of the things, Shailynn, that have surprised you in your life and in your journey? For example, like you were so surprised that you found joy in this moment, or you were so surprised that this is something that came out of this.
Oh, there's been so many. One of them was meeting Jessica Johnson and her little boy Lewiston
So
Olstad.
cool.
Getting to know them and like learn from Lewiston and watch her turn her pain into rocket fuel has been such a privilege and honor, um, that I never would have guessed would be such a light coming out of them losing their son. Um,
Right.
I also ended up in Palm Springs, taking a break. My health was really declining. The treatment I was on wasn't really working anymore. And I was just in a place of like not knowing what came next. And I
Mm,
ended up meeting a guy there who really helped me to believe in myself. And as he heard more of my story, he was like, I work for Coachella and you need to share your story there. And so that was definitely one of the wildest, like, oh, I was vulnerable about how crazy my life has been. And then this opportunity was just provided to me to like attend something that was on my bucket list. It was incredible. And so there have been little bits like that where it's like, oh, I'm just here to recharge. And then it's like, no, there's so many things for me to learn and experiences for me to have. And that fuels me to keep going. Each like special experience like that, that's like you never know what's going to happen in life. Um, those really have been the best parts of living with such an uncertain future.
right. Absolutely. I love that. And these opportunities that have come out of specifically the moments when you were really raw. Like, I think that's the key thing here, right? You, I recently had someone say to me, when you chase a bunny, the bunny runs away. But if you sit down, the bunny will come to you. And I really loved that because it's this idea that, we could be chasing meeting Jessica Jansen or speaking on the stage at Coachella. But I think that the moments that these things really come to us, these extraordinary moments, is when you're just you. You're feeling the feelings of like how freaking hard this is, and you're allowing yourself to just be who you are. And I think that that's when the bunny comes. That's when
Oh,
these big, broad moments happen.
completely. Even public speaking, like I did not want to speak about anything to do with my disease. All through high school, I hid every aspect of it. No one knew that I was like past my life expectancy except my best friend. No one knew any of those like big feelings I was feeling. And then my best friend finally was like, she competed in Miss Teen Saskatchewan and made SMA her platform. And she was like, we're going to this muscular dystrophy conference. And I was like, no, not a chance. Um, but yeah, just the push to actually just accept who I was has turned into my career now. And the more vulnerable I'm able to be, the more I'm able to impact people and reach different people. And yeah, it's just the more I've accepted who I am, the more beautiful my life has become.
Wow, that's amazing. So for those of you that don't follow you, what is it that you do for your career? I know that you do quite a few things. I'm super excited to hear them.
I do. So, I thought I wanted to be a probation officer, did my practicums doing that, loved it. And finally, my manager there was like, "You're made for more than this. Like, you need to follow your purpose." And so I was like, "But I want to do this. I like this job." And she finally was like, "We're not going to hire you because we don't think that this is what you're called to do." And
Wow.
so that really got me thinking. And I realized that all my life I'd wanted disability representation. I'd wanted to see someone in a wheelchair who was actually disabled and not about to die or wasn't pictured as a burden. And like, I wanted a Disney princess in a wheelchair, a prince in a wheelchair. Like, I wanted those little things. And finally, I was like, what's stopping me from working on making those happen? And so I now do disability advocacy, so a lot of political advocacy. But then I've newly got into disability modeling and acting. And it's really just bloomed into all these different opportunities for me to work towards people with disability um, being seen as part of society. And it's really been a dream come true, being able to model for clothing companies and be able to see what the outfit looks like sitting down and to see people who look like me and aren't like Drake and Degrassi, who's the Degrassi. I wanted to see people in realistic power wheelchairs and not just have able bodied people portraying the disability experience. And so it has
Fair.
become a very busy but full life of truly just owning who I am and living life. And it's finally a time in our world where that is being accepted and appreciated and seen. And it has been such a dream. Some of the experiences I've seen, some of the stages I've been on, to just share what lives look like with disability and to amplify the lives of people with disability and not the depression, the darkness, to normalize those things and say they are a part of the disability experience, but not to let that be all that is felt in a life with a disability.
Totally. I totally agree. I recently listened to a gal who was speaking on stage, and she called her speech Not Just a Story. And I really loved that because, I think that our stories are so inspiring, but there's so much more to it, right? Yes, there's the story, and you really feel it and all those sorts of things, but there's an after, and there's a really powerful after. And so, like, I love that you got this future, right? And I call it my second lease on life when everything was cleared and cured. And I use the word cured. I know that no other cancer patient does, but I always say it's cured because that's just what feels good to me.
Totally. That's the
Um,
positivity and setting
Hell
your
yeah.
intention that it's gone.
She gone. Yeah.
Be gone.
Yeah. But and so, like, there's this after this second lease on life for you. And so then you're like, what am I gonna do with it? Who am I gonna change? What impact am I gonna leave on the world? Modeling, advocacy, acting, like speaking on stages, these are big things.
It's been surreal, honestly. And to be here, 28 years old, happy, healthy, just living a life is such a privilege. And I think working with so many newly diagnosed SMA families before treatment was a reality, and watching them say goodbye to their kids and seeing what SMA looks like in the end um, was very eye opening for me to see what my disease looks like at end stages. But it also has been such a fuel that I'm still here. If those little kids were still here, they too would be making a mark on the world. So it's truly a privilege. I have a tattoo for Lewiston and Aspen, two of the most important people with SMA who've shaped my life. And
Mhm.
I definitely feel a responsibility to continue moving SMA research forward until nobody is saying goodbye to their baby because of a disease that now has a treatment. And thanks to people like Jessica and Ronnie Lewison's parents,
Hmm.
there's now newborn screening. And so it won't be undetected, it will be detected, and treatment will be available right away. And all these little
Right.
things are reminders that change can happen. And the
Yeah.
world is changing and will continue to change, but our voices matter and need to be heard and shared. So it's truly, I am so grateful to be healthy and here doing all this. I know you can probably agree with just the simple moments mean so much more when you've had to look at the
Oh, yeah.
possibility of life ending early. And those little moments and the way you savor life and live life to the fullest, it's such a privilege that even though through all
Yeah.
the hard times, I've really learned what's important.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? It's such an interesting catch 22 to be in when you don't love that this happened to you. You don't really want it to continue to happen to you. But that being said, I wonder if you or I know for myself anyway, that I wouldn't have made the mark on the world that I wanted to make. I wouldn't have had the bravery. I wouldn't have done the things and experienced the things that I've experienced without the experiences that I had, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so then it always just becomes one of these things where it's like, I'm so glad I couldn't have chose because I might have chose not to. But I mean, but I also might not have. And I'm just so glad I didn't get the choice.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I always say I'm also grateful I didn't get the choice and that I didn't end up in a wheelchair because of an injury and some traumatic event. It's just always been my life and has always shaped my perspective. And I'm grateful for that and would not change my life. Just like you, I think that I am the person I am because of those experiences. And it's taught me a new level of empathy that I
Right.
wouldn't have learned any other way.
That's beautiful. I just love it. I love it so much. Wow. Okay. Well, this is just so exciting. I feel like I'm talking to my people. I'm like, tell me
Me
more.
too.
Yeah. Amazing. That's so good. Okay. Well, okay. So let's see. What are some of the ways that you hope to impact, for example, someone who's listening here who maybe hasn't gone through, cancer or sorry, I don't know the acronym. Could you say it again?
SMA.
SMA, thank you.
Yes.
Um, who is listening? What are some of the impacts and some of the messages that you'd like to deliver to the person who is maybe listening, who is going through, a really messy divorce or, lost a child or, you know, is going through a breakup, isn't, whatever it is that they're going through, what are some of the messages that you might be able to share with them?
Yeah, I think that expectations are a heavy thing in our world and can really have a lot of power over your brain. And so, one of the things that I have been most proud of is breaking beyond the expectation that I would die by 12, beyond the expectation that I didn't have a future, that there wouldn't be anyone who would love me. And I think that in every situation, if we stop and take a step back and tune out the noise, the expectations, the people who think they have the power over our life and are able to say, what do I want to do? We're capable of breaking beyond any expectation that's placed on us. Um, and I think that the power of the mind and your perspective is so important. And I'm not saying I don't have my why me moments or dark days, but I think that when we consistently choose to focus on gratitude, to focus on the positive, to focus on community and the people we do have, um, our life will be so much fuller because we're choosing to see what we need to see. And so I think breaking beyond expectations is breaking beyond the power your mind has and choosing to rewrite those neural pathways, quite literally rewire your brain to be able to see the good, the happiness, the positive. And that can get you through everything, is
Yeah.
being able to come back to yourself and remember what truly matters. And I think near death experiences definitely do that on a fast track. But I think that all of us need to remember that we do have the power to change our habits, our thoughts, our entire life. And the more we can come together in community and in conversation and realize, as Dr. Jody says, we're all just walking each other home. There's nothing that we're not capable of with community.
Very well said. Very well said. I want to reiterate some of those points because they're so apt. So one thing that you spoke about here was choice. And I love that because I think choice is taking it's really, really difficult because a lot of us, and myself included for sure, you live by the experiences that are going on around you. And if you're not happy, if your expectation was different, so that's another point. If your expectation was different, then your day's bad. But what it really comes down to, the week, month, year is bad. But what it really comes down to is that you have to make the uncomfortable choice to say, okay, I'm not happy with this experience, but not being happy will lead me to be not happy. And so which emotion do I want to have? And making that
Exactly.
really difficult transition that feels a lot like shifting a gear in a vehicle that needs oil. You're just like, and then you finally get it, but you're like, I'm going to choose to be happier with this experience. I'm going to choose to see the light, the positivity, what I can do with it. After a period of time of course mourning. And I love that you say it's not that you don't have your dark days, but getting to the point where you're just like, you know what? This is my situation. Do I want to be unhappy or do I want to be happy? And I'm going to make the choice to be happy, right?
Exactly.
Love that. Love that. Expectation, I wholeheartedly agree that expectation is the thief of joy. I know that so many of us, I know I do, you have this belief for yourself, something you want, and and you're going for it and you're gaming for it and you're pushing for it. But if it doesn't happen right away, then that's that thief of joy. And I think that it's so important for us to check our expectations, to start to look at, that the experience that you're living is something that you expected for yourself 5 years ago, right? You wanted what you're doing, and so it's just this presence of coming back into this space and saying like, you know, I the expectation that I had for myself is that I would live in a beautiful home, and I do, you know? And just remembering the ways that you are blessed.
Exactly. And the things that you never thought would happen that have.
Also that, yes, things that you didn't expect that did happen, right? There's so many
Yeah,
blessings. I
truly.
loved that so much. I think that those are really the basis of healing. Like those 2 points. I think there was a third, but I got so excited about the first two that I can't remember what the third one was.
Community. Community was the
Community.
third
There it
one.
is. So important. I love
Yes.
it. But truly when it comes to healing, those 3 points they are your healing. Let the light in. I was just talking with another gal. I try to batch my podcasts. I try to do them in the same day, and I usually walk away from those days just so on fire. So good. She was talking about how a seed is underground. And so under the ground, it feels so dark. But what causes a seed to grow is light. And so this idea of letting the light in, and to me, that's community. And so if you've got your
Completely.
community, you've got your expectations in check, and you find a way to make a choice to be happy, I honestly think that that is the groundwork for healing.
It is. And honestly, that's what we're all on this earth to be doing is healing. Healing from the past, from generations before us, but healing for ourselves also. And it's something that never ends. It's a continual process of staying as healed and as full of light as you can. Um, but yeah, when you can do that, it truly unlocks all possibilities.
Love it. Oh, that's so cool. So what's next for you? What's going on in Shaylynn's life?
So I am working on a book and
Amazing.
I'm very excited. I absolutely loved your book also.
Aw,
And
thank you.
yes, so much inspiration for me with writing mine as well. So thank you. But yeah, I'm working on writing a book. I'm doing a lot of speaking. I'm have lots of castings for different commercials and things like that. Um, but truly, I'm just like starting to spend a lot more time on my health. And now that I'm on a treatment that's working and I'm developing muscle and my nerves are regenerating, I'm starting to work out and do acupuncture and Reiki and just really pour as much time as I can into being as healthy as I can be for this future that I've been given.
I love that. I love that yes, you're seeing this value in your health and putting in the time at a time where you are busy, my friend. So good for
It
you for putting your health into the priority list because that's an easy one to put down.
it is, and I think I've really, because my health is so fragile, I've learned to see how the tiniest decisions make such an impact on my body. And so alcohol, like my body can't. It's so dysregulated after and not having enough water, like all those little things I see the direct impact on my body. And so yeah, it's been very eye-opening for me how important those little things are, even though I may have like massively reduced muscle mass. Little things like getting enough protein do still make a difference in my
Of
day-to-day life.
course.
So
Yes.
yeah, it's a full-time job, I swear, taking care of your health. I still go to
Isn't
New
that the
York
truth?
every 4 months for spinal injections for the treatment I'm on,
Mhm.
and a bunch of testing for those. And yeah, I like to keep busy. I kind of have always lived with my foot on the gas pedal, because I knew I had less time. And now that I do have more time, it's the only way I know how to live is to stay busy.
Yeah.
But I definitely do balance it with the rest and the breaks in between. And yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited for what's next and know that probably the most exciting opportunities I haven't even dreamed of yet, but they will come.
Yes, they will. Absolutely, they will. I'm curious, do you have a name for your book yet, or is that keeping under wraps?
I don't have it for sure
Fair.
yet, but one of them is from where I sit because for a
Love
long
that.
time I've just felt like I look at the world differently from my wheelchair and
Mhm.
just how that shaped my perspective. So yeah, we'll see what the final title is. I'm
Cool.
hoping to have it out by my 30th birthday. So I got a year and a little bit to get it all edited,
Mhm.
published, and sent to print. And I'm very excited about that. And also, I'm considering the possibility of a stint in politics. So we will see. I've seen firsthand from
Amazing.
my advocacy work that
Yeah.
a lot of change has to happen at a political level. Um, and yeah, I'm very interested in the possibility of being able to make some big changes through a career in politics.
Good for you. That's amazing. And a big jump for sure. Like it's a shift in gears. But I
Definitely.
agree with you wholeheartedly. When it comes to change, we do need government's help. And if you can be, on the inside, like I think that would make a really huge difference for sure. I do a lot of advocacy work around radon gas and its effects on lung health. And that's mostly what we do is apply to government, meet MPs, like we're going to storm parliament, we're calling it.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
yes, in fall, and we're going to be like, okay, radon's a real thing. Let's have a conversation here, you know?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got to do that a couple years ago, just before COVID hit, was storm parliament. And exactly, that is how change happens, is
that's how change happens.
forcing the conversations that need to happen.
Yeah.
So yes, best of luck. I'm excited to hear more. Advocacy is such a draining and equally rewarding
All the
activity.
things.
Yeah,
Yes.
so many
Yeah.
emotions.
That's amazing. Okay, well, all right. So if people want to connect with you, if they want to follow you, hire you as a speaker, where do we find you?
For sure. So I'm on Instagram. It's just my name, Shailynn Taylor. I'll make sure I
Okay,
have the link for you for the oh my goodness, the write up bio, the
perfect.
deal.
The
And
stuff.
the stuff, the good stuff. And yes, there's contact button on there. I'm also on Facebook. Same thing, just my name. And I am always looking for more classrooms to speak in, more events to MC or keynote. And yeah, I truly just love connecting with community and being able to bring people together to remember what's important in life. So, yes, I would love to connect with anyone who's taken something from this episode.
Amazing. Well, I know that people are taking something from this episode because it's going to be at the top of my re-listen list. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your vulnerability, your rawness, your story, because it takes people to have the bravery to share, but also to have the bravery to share like you do, which I really love. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's all of it. And it's so inspiring to listen to. So thank you, Shailynn.
Thank you so much. I have to say also, um, you talk a lot about what keeps the person moving forward. And when my community started a fundraiser for my treatment, my best friend painted me a flower, and around it, it said, keep moving forward. And that became our logo for my whole advocacy fight for treatment and is now just my logo. So I love that we both have seen the importance of continuing to move forward. And I think that's such an important message.
I love that. And what a wonderful way to end. Thank you so much, Shailynn.
Thank you so much. It's been a privilege.